This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
I was Tiny Usher, Rico from RicoScores, and we have a lot to talk about today. But before we even get into everything, just know that this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, as you can see above me on the screen. But we got to talk about Jayden Daniels being named the starting quarterback. And not only what Jayden Daniels had to say about it, but Dan Quinn walking through exactly what led to when they named him the starting quarterback, why they just decided to do it, when they did it, why they decided to do it overall. I mean, a lot of very encouraging quotes, basically giving us as fans even more optimism about Jayden Daniels' future. But we also have this whole weird not practicing sliding situation we got to talk about with Jayden Daniels as well. And then speaking of not sliding, we also have a big time injury update. I'm also going to give you some really interesting and crazy stats about how awful our quarterback history has been, especially in the recent past 8 years. Also, the Commanders, their new field looks like it's ready to go. We have a kicking update from Dan Quinn as well, and a lot more. A lot of things to talk about in this video, but before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. I really appreciate y'all for all of the help that y'all have been doing with everything, man. Really goated. All of the likes, all of the donations, especially during the live streams when we're watching the games together. Of course, I will be live streaming the upcoming preseason game against the Patriots, even though most of our starters will more than likely not play. And I will be live streaming all of the regular season games this regular season as well, and postseason if we make it there. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna speak it into existence. But instead of wasting more of y'all time, let's go ahead and dive into this video. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so Jayden Daniels has officially been named the starter, the worst kept secret in the entire DMV. The number 2 overall draft pick is now officially the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders. Again, we're going to dive into the awful quarterback history that we've had at the least the past 8 years, but we're going to go even further back than that for one of the stats. Just stay tuned for that because it's insane. And, you know, it just kind of paints the picture as to like, man, we really got to hope that Jayden Daniels, this is finally the one, because we've deserved it, man. No other team has had as much quarterback turmoil and turnover as we have the past 8 years. Again, I have a specific stat for that as well. But Dan Quinn had a press conference today, and before he even like officially announced it, I wasn't home at the time. So, but even then, like I'm looking on Twitter and all of the different updates, pretty much everybody knew, including me, that Jayden Daniels was more than likely going to be named the starting quarterback. That announcement was going to come out today. More than likely going to go ahead and just drop it with his press conference that he was having today. And then he did. And even though it was obvious already, we already knew that. I mean, he's been getting all of the starting reps, not only just in practice, joint practices, but even in the preseason game, he's out there with the very few starters that do play. And then Marcus Mariota, even before he got hurt, was out there with the backups. And then now he hasn't been able to even play to go out there, even with the backups. So, I mean, if anything, now we're even starting to have conversations about maybe Jeff Driscoll is quarterback too, just because at this point in Marcus Mariota's career, Jeff Driscoll may be a little bit faster. In their primes, Marcus Mariota is the better athlete without a doubt. But as of right now, Jeff Driscoll may be slightly more mobile than the aging Marcus Mariota. But either way, that's a whole nother debate for a whole nother day. That's not what we're here for. But either way, my point is Marcus Mariota is probably closer to Jeff Driscoll. No, he actually is closer to Jeff Driscoll on the depth chart than he is to Jayden Daniels for sure. So we already knew this was on the way. And even though it was very obvious and it was just only a matter of when, not if, it still feels great, man. This still feels like a great moment. I feel like it's one of those situations we're going to look back years from now and be very happy and proud about this whole pretty much process to get to this point. I mean, it was still early on. It's still year one of a rebuild, but like all that we've been through, at least in my entire lifetime, because again, I wasn't allowed to see any of the Washington Commanders Super Bowls. So we've at best been above average my entire life, but we've never been great. We've never been elite. Ever. Never been the best team in the NFL again. I haven't even sniffed a Super Bowl since I've been alive as a Commanders fan. So it just feels like, you know, it's a long time coming, man. I should play the song. But either way, this is such big news, even outside of the Commanders fan base, that even the top, sports reporters and media members and national analysts are tweeting about it. Like even Tom Pelissero tweeted, now official. The Commanders are rolling with number 2 overall pick Jayden Daniels as the starting quarterback. Coach Dan Quinn said the future is now in Washington. Daniels gets the ball September 8th at Tampa Bay. Of course, again, I will be live streaming that game for the debut of the 2024 Washington Commanders season. And if you really just sit back and think about it and reflect, like all of the new that's going to be taking place, new quarterback, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, new GM, new everything. Literally, the only people that are still here from last year are Ryan Kerrigan, I think, technically, because but he switched the roles. He's not even the same title and role that he had last year. Even he moved. He's on the same team, but he moved. Josh Harris was here this time last year, but barely over a year since he bought the team. I believe it was back in July last year. And then you have our wide receivers coach and I believe our quarterbacks coach. I think that's literally it. Everything else is new. I think even the water boys are different now. They got rid of the whole scouting department, the entire front office basically, except for Martin May, who got demoted. There's a couple other people still sticking around, but just think about how new this is. But most importantly, we have a new potential franchise quarterback that I believe in. We'll see if a lot of y'all jump on board later. I feel like most of the fan base does, but not everybody. And I understand. We've been through this over and over again. I understand why a lot of people have cautious optimism with this situation. But I'm sorry, I'm just going to go ahead and put my heart into it. That's just me. I'm going to put my heart into it. If it gets broken again, it is what it is. But I'm believing today so that when we are great later on down the line, I was there day one. Because like I always say, man, when Georgia started winning our championships a couple of years ago, I had that same attitude that a lot of y'all probably have with the Commanders right now. Like every time we're this close, something happens, and maybe we're just cursed to never win a championship again, at least in my lifetime, or things like that. That's how I felt. And then suddenly we won that championship against Alabama. And I feel like if I were, as a fan, would have put my faith into that season, because I knew before that season, I was saying in the offseason, we have the talent to win a championship. I believe we're the best team on paper going into that season of our first championship. But it was just that PTSD kicking in, like, man, I'm not gonna believe it till I see it. And I just feel like I didn't enjoy the entire season worth of ride. I'm enjoying this one, ground zero, day one. I'm sorry, I don't care how crazy it sounds. I'm putting my heart in Jayden Daniels and believing in him day one immediately. I feel like I've had enough evidence to at least be able to do that. Maybe not logically put my all into this, but emotionally I'm there. And just to let you know, I believe it was 1 year ago yesterday that Sam Howell was named the starting quarterback. So that is crazy. This has been a crazy 365 days. Speaking of that, all of the new that we have, just think about that. And I will never forget these past 365 days, because as a guy that I'm way more a GM than I am a coach or a player. So like the way that we constructed, that Adam Peters and Josh Harris put together this front office, this coaching staff, this roster, free agency draft and all of that type of stuff. We'll probably never see something like that again. We shouldn't want to. If everything works out and we're a great team and we're Super Bowl contenders and things like that, we will not have this much turnover in the front office, coaching staff, and on our roster ever again. So as a guy that, like, the off season is really my favorite part of the NFL season, it couldn't have gotten any better than this past off season. So I'm really appreciative of it. I'm glad that I enjoyed it while I was here. I'm gonna cherish it, but hopefully this never happens again. But either way, Dan Quinn spoke on the whole starting quarterback situation. What's going on? Why he decided to go with Jayden Daniels? Why now? All of that type of stuff. He said, quote, he's earned the right to do that. He's really put in the work. I love the quotes that he's given us talking about Jayden Daniels. This sounds like a head coach that truly believes in his quarterback. He said that he could have named Jayden Daniels the starter earlier, but they wanted to set a standard that competition is one of the top priorities for this culture. Doesn't matter who you are, you got to go out there and earn it. No matter if you already look like you got it, we still want to make sure you go through the proper steps. They're really trying to build a certain culture here, and I like that. Absolutely love it. Dan Quinn also said that he went into the quarterback room and after discussing the pregame process, told Jayden Daniels, quote, I'm naming you the starter today. You've crushed it and earned it, unquote. That's a very cool moment, man. I wish we would have had cameras back there for that. I'm assuming maybe we did, and we're just waiting to see, like, the Washington Commanders log on their official YouTube page. Maybe put that out later. If they do, I'm definitely tuning in. But Dan Quinn told Jayden Daniels earlier today that he was naming him quarterback one. They met to go over some pre-game prep stuff. Quinn asked Daniels to think of some things he would change with the warm-ups, the process before games, all of that type of stuff. Just basically getting this insight, like how do you want things to go? And then he officially informed them after that about that he was going to go ahead and tell everybody in the world, tell everybody out loud, you are the starting quarterback. Dan Quinn also said that he knew that Daniels would get to the point where he was the starting quarterback, but he and Peters were more concerned with how he got there. Quinn said he didn't miss a beat. It hit every marker. So again, this was more so like a matter of when, not if. They believed in Jayden Daniels as a reason they took him second overall. But he's exceeded every test, every expectations that they laid out for him, and that's an amazing thing. Dan Quinn also said that Jayden Daniels' best practice was this past Tuesday before they left to go to Miami for the joint practice. Quinn said the practice before the Commanders went to Miami was the best practice he had seen Jayden Daniels ever go through since they drafted him. Talked about his command and production. Remember, Jayden Daniels only had one incompletion that entire practice, and that was pretty much all they needed to see. And then they just kind of went through the formalities, waited until after the preseason game, and then officially announced it. Dan Quinn also said that Jayden Daniels doesn't have to put on a cape and lead the team. That's important. It will basically come with time. But that playing the best and being the best teammate is the focus for Jayden Daniels. Quote, Jayden Daniels is an absolute fantastic teammate, unquote. So we're not worried about him being able to do that, but that is the focus right there. Also, shouts out to Zach Selby because he did a great job writing an article on the whole situation. He even talks about, like, at one point in the article that Daniels' biggest test came during the Commanders' joint practices and preseason games with the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins, both of whom had top 10 defenses in 2023 and excelled at generating sacks. While the rain and lack of starters on the offensive line did prevent him from making many explosive plays against the Jets, Daniels did show off his accuracy with passes to De'Ami Brown in one-on-one drills and Zach Ertz, who has become one of the most reliable targets in team drills for Jayden Daniels. It was enough for even his opponents to see that Daniels has special traits that will help him succeed at the professional level. Sauce Gardner, arguably the best cornerback in the entire NFL, said, quote, I just told him, like, man, you're going to be really good. It was great to just be able to line up against him. As a corner, you want to go against a rookie quarterback, but he's one of those guys, like, he's developed, obviously, unquote, there. And it's just a great article because it's a lot of different background insight of the whole Jayden Daniels thing. I highly suggest that you go check it out because it's like a good little backstory as that basically how we got here. But moving on, shouts out to All Galdi because I completely agree with this tweet that he put out. He said, nice to now have Jayden Daniels as the Commanders' official quarterback, when the biggest preseason complaints about a rookie quarterback are that he checked to a 42-yard completion for which he didn't necessarily have permission to do, and he didn't slide/get out of bounds on a 13-yard run. You're doing very well. I completely agree. If those are the biggest complaints that we have right now, we are exceeding every expectations that we have for him the day that we drafted him. And then Dan Quinn also said that he's not ready to say if Jayden Daniels will play the third preseason game against the Patriots. Again, I will be live streaming that. He also passed on saying whether Jayden Daniels nor any other starters will play in that preseason game against the Patriots for the finale of the preseason. And me personally, I'm not expecting most of them to hit on the field at all. I don't even think that really any of them will be. He said, though, that we will know by Friday what's going to go on with that situation. So I'll definitely give y'all a video update on who's playing and who's not once we get that information. And then shouts out to my boy at the Burgundy Zone, the Podfather, brings up a great point. I completely agree with this as well. He said listening to Coach Quinn truly is a lot of fun, easy to understand, and he gets clarity very well. Doesn't come across as like he's BSing, and we appreciate the openness. I completely agree with him there. And then now let's dive into this terrible quarterback history because we didn't get here by mistake. There's a reason we were able to draft him with the number 2 overall pick. We earned that pick. It's not like the Chicago Bears that ended up trading for that first round pick. Nah, we were legitimately the 2nd overall pick team from that regular season. Remember, we won 2 games to start off the season. Remember, this is the same season we started off 2-0 last year. I hope people don't forget that we started that season 2-0 and only won 2 games for the rest of the season. But it wasn't just last season. We've had terrible quarterback history, period. First of all, Jayden Daniels will become the 11th quarterback selected by the Washington Commanders in the common draft era to start week 1 for the team. He'll be the only one to do it. He'll only be the second one to do it as a rookie. RG3 was the first. And again, we're talking about in the common draft era. Most other teams don't have that. Most other teams do not have a stat like that. Also, Washington will be starting their 8th different week 1 starter at quarterback in just as many years. Let's go backwards. 2024, Jayden Daniels. Y'all remember Sam Howell last year? How about Carson Wentz the year before that? How about Ryan Fitzpatrick the year before that? How about Dwayne Haskins the year before that? RIP. How about Case Keenum the year before that? Alex Smith the year before that? And then Kirk Cousins. I mean, it seems like forever ago, but that was just 8 years ago, and in 8 years we've had 8 different starting quarterbacks. Can that please stop going into the 2025 season? Please, man. I feel like we deserve it, man. We've earned it. We've put in the pain, the tears, the sadness, more than probably arguably any other franchise, at least quarterback wise specifically. I feel like it's our turn at the very least. Also, assuming that Anthony Richardson starts for the Colts in week 1, obviously, for a second consecutive year this season, the Commanders will be the only team in the NFL to use 8 different week 1 starting quarterbacks in the last 8 seasons. So that last 8 years of 8 different starting quarterbacks, no other team in the NFL would have done that as long as Anthony Richardson is still on track to start week 1 for them. And I don't know why he wouldn't unless there's an injury, which is crazy. And then if you look on the screen right now, shouts out to Jake Russell for this. Jayden Daniels will be Washington's 36th starting quarterback since the 1993 season. A trend people in and around DC hope stops with the 2nd overall pick. And I mean, this list of quarterbacks is insane, man. Ever since like a year after we won our last Super Bowl that we won, our 3rd one, the most recent one that we won. Again, I wasn't even born yet at this time. This is our list of quarterbacks, and that is just a shame. We had a couple of good ones in there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna act like everybody was just terrible, but it definitely was not enough. And also, before we go, Terry McLaurin specifically, this is now his 11th different starting quarterback since being in the year 6 years now. He's going into his 6th year as a wide receiver. Jayden Daniels will now officially be his 11th starting quarterback. Remember, the other stats were week 1 starting quarterback specifically. You forget that we've had other quarterbacks start outside of week 1. I mean, remember on that list, you didn't have Taylor Heineke in that 8 quarterbacks list. So Taylor Heineke is part of that 11 that have started for us outside of just literally just week 1 alone. That is insane. Terry McLaurin deserves better. I feel like he may have finally gotten better. Now, Jayden Daniels, what did you have to say about the situation? Now, this was officially his first official press conference as the official Washington Commanders quarterback, 1 starter, all of that. So that's a magical moment in itself, and make sure y'all go check that out. And even though he didn't say like a lot of really super duper engaging and exciting things, it's just like a moment in history you just kind of got to enjoy, because later on down the line, years down the line, when we're Super Bowl contenders, these are the moments that you're going to look back at and almost probably shed a tear type of situation. Like, man, I remember the struggle. I remember when we first saw a light at the end of the tunnel. That's this stage right here. He also said, quote, "A blessing that Dan Quinn and Adam Peters trust me to lead the team," unquote. He says that after being announced the Washington Commanders starting quarterback. He also said that I've dreamt of this since I was a kid. I absolutely love that. And the fact that he takes time out of most, if not all, practices to make sure he goes sign things for the kids and everybody and things like that, that was really cool. We no longer have fans being allowed to go to practice and things like that, so that's done now, but I'm pretty sure he'll still do the same thing before and after games and things like that. So that he's just a really cool dude for that. And then he also said, quote, "Everything in life, you got to earn it. Nothing is given." What they preach here, and they hold true to that, and unquote. And I love that quote for multiple reasons. First of all, the fact that he has that mentality, but most importantly, the fact that Dan Quinn has made sure that this entire team has that mentality. He said that that's literally what this team is preaching. That is the culture here. You have to earn everything. He also said a shout out to Marcus Mariota and said that he's been a great mentor. So shouts out to Jayden Daniels for even showing love to Marcus Mariota in his moment. He didn't have to do that. And shouts out to Marcus Mariota knowing that you were signed here to basically be a backup, and you're here to help this quarterback basically take your job. And Marcus Mariota has done a great job with that. Helped them every way that he can. They have a good relationship there. That's really cool. So shouts out to him as well. But now, what's going on with this whole Jayden Daniels sliding thing, man? Can we please talk about this sliding situation? Because apparently somebody asked Jayden Daniels if he practices sliding? He said, quote, "Nah, I haven't," unquote. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? Shouts out to Grant Paulson, because he said, how is that possible? Dan Quinn and company should add that to the practice schedule this week immediately. Somebody get Daniels and the Commanders a slip and slide. We got to get that incorporated into every practice. He should mandatory every day at the end of practice, whatever time you want to do it, before or after, just practice sliding, man. Come on, there's no way. Also, shouts out to @Jayden Daniels, because he brings up a great point. He said, next up on 106.7, Jayden Daniels thinks it's a joke to not practice sliding after what happened in 2012. You already know 106.7, the fan, is going to run with this the furthest they can. It's about to be all types of controversy. Shouts out to my boy @COLKILLA1 on Twitter, because he replied to @Jayden Daniels and said, this is what they're going to say, quote, "Is Jayden Daniels' outright refusal to slide another slap in the face of the coaching staff after the defiance he showed by checking out of a dead play? Could this be the straw that breaks the camel's back and opens the door for preseason star Jeff Driscoll?" I mean, you already, and shouts out to him, because that's funny, man, but you already know, I mean, they're about to really run with this. And my main point is, dog, you couldn't at least lie. Like, even if you aren't practicing sliding, can you at least say that you are? Like, and first of all, why are you not? Let's get to the source of the problem. Why are you not practicing sliding, dog? We need that. We need that. You saw Dan Quinn get on you for that in that Dolphins preseason game. But at the very least, have the situational awareness to be like, yeah, I've been sliding. Just straight up lie, man. I guess this guy just can't help but tell the truth. Maybe he's just signed a contract with his heart or something. He lies, he dies. So I don't know what's going on there. But before we move on to the rest of this video, I need my boy Michael Vick to holla at you real quick, and then I'm gonna talk to you right after that and tell you what we got going on at BetUS.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
And shouts out to Mike Vick. He told you a little bit of it, but let me finish it off. So first of all, are you looking for a new book this football season? Well, it should be BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sure. Stop playing with me. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry. I know y'all want y'all money fast. I know I do. And when you sign up, especially through me, you can get a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000, or even a 200% crypto deposit bonus with your first deposit. Also, make sure you check out my BetUS link in the description below, and it's the pinned comment to this video. Your boy RicoScores is going to hook you up every time, not going to lead you wrong. It's easy and fast, easy deposit with the withdrawals and everything. It's a very easy process, man. You can get your money so easily. You don't even have to worry about that part. I know that's a really stressful part when it comes to all of the betting stuff. You don't have to worry about that here. Also, they have 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a week. They're always there for you, even when you're off of work. Like, I mean, a lot of y'all don't work weekends. They do. They're always there whenever you need them, at night, weekends, holidays, whatever. They also have live wagering on all major games. All of them, name it, they got it. And to me, they also have the best betting variety in the business. That's me, though. Make sure you go check them out and see for yourself. And even if you somehow miss on your bets, you can even get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. That's forgiveness. We love that. We preach that. And did you know that BetUS can even give you your very own personal account manager? Now, who else is doing that, man? Come on now. They're going extra and beyond for y'all. So again, like I always say, y'all my people, they're my people. I feel like naturally y'all need to rock with each other and hook up there. Make sure y'all go do that. Again, click my link in the description and or the pinned comment. I got you covered. Now let's get to the rest of this video, man. Now let's get to some Jayden Daniels love and some other random information about Jayden Daniels that we can get into. Some interesting preseason stats and topics that were brought up. But also, first of all, Chad Ochocinco talked about how much he's really excited about Jayden Daniels, man. Now, he even went to that Miami Dolphins joint practice that we had with them on Thursday, took a picture with Jayden Daniels. He's been hyping up Jayden Daniels even since before we drafted him. He's saying that he's going to be a great quarterback. Then after we took him, he was excited about the fact that he'll have Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson as his receivers. He's a big Jayden Daniels fan. Chad Ochocinco deserves the credit for being one of the earliest Terry McLaurin fans out of the national media. Outside of the Commanders fan base, media members, beat writers, and analysts and things like that, national media-wise, Chad Ochocinco was one of the very first people I heard like really say, hey, that boy Terry McLaurin, nice, man. Make sure y'all peep him. Make sure y'all watch out for him type of thing. That boy knows his football. And again, him and Shannon Sharp, even Shannon Sharp said something about, yeah, that boy look good type of thing. And then Chad Ochocinco came and followed up and gave him a whole bunch of compliments. If you want to go check that out, just go check that out on the YouTube page. I'm not going to play the clip here. I don't want YouTube to get mad at me, but make sure you go check that out. And then shouts out to this Twitter interaction, because this is something I noticed, and I talked about this briefly in my breakdown of what happened in that Dolphins game, but I feel like Mark Tyler of Hogs Haven worded this pretty well. So at first, at DCZ Wall on Twitter said the O-line has protected Jayden Daniels really well, and they don't even have Brandon Coleman yet. But now, granted, there's a bit of that in there, but it's more so the fact that Jayden Daniels just seems to have a master of the offense. I mean, he was orchestrating that thing so beautifully. His time to throw was actually really short, and it wasn't even necessarily because there was a bunch of pressure on him. He just knew, like, I need to get this out of my hand. There's no Brandon Coleman. Andrew Wiley's only been practicing for like a week now. Like, let me make sure that we're on schedule. And I feel like Cliff Kingsbury did him a lot of favors as well. Mark Tyler said, little bit more to this, though. So far in 2 games, I believe he's had the quickest time to throw in the NFL. I think I forgot the exact number. It was 1 point like something, like 9 something. It's insane. In other words, they're doing the exact opposite of what Ron and EB did with how they are actually protecting them through scheme. Shouts out to Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn for that. They clearly value their quarterback more than the previous regime valued theirs. You could just tell. Also, look at this graphic on the screen right now. Now, granted, Caleb Williams has had like some of the bigger highlights. Like if you type in Caleb Williams on Twitter versus when you type in Jayden Daniels on Twitter, you're probably going to see some more exciting stuff from Caleb Williams. But overall, Jayden Daniels was definitely more efficient in pretty much every way, except for you have Caleb Williams with a higher passing yards per attempt, but it's not that big of a gap. But Jayden Daniels has him on that passer rating and just overall passing efficiency, all of that type of stuff. So, hey, man, just a random little bit of love for Jayden Daniels. Now let's move on to everything else we need to talk about. First of all, injury update, man. Big time injury update for linebacker Jordan McGee. Apparently, he has a meniscus injury and had a procedure on it. Something was done to it. It's not a season-ending injury, though, so that's at least a little bit of optimism. They're saying that he will return at some point this season, but he is a 5th-round rookie. We don't have a timetable yet, which is the bad news. And again, being a 5th-round rookie, even if he does return this season at some point, depending on how late it is, I mean, how much can we really expect for him to contribute for us as a rookie that's missed a lot of his offseason, let alone the regular season that we're going to get into? If we get to like November or something and he's still hurt and then he's just now coming back and we're like trying to make the playoffs, I don't really see them just throwing him out there to the Wolves in that situation, is my point. Also, Johnny Newton and Brandon Coleman wise, really big updates for them as well. Other rookie draft picks. Johnny Newton and Brandon Coleman right now are unlikely to get teamwork maybe until later this week, Dan Quinn said, which is very encouraging because I was thinking like Johnny Newton, it may be a couple of more weeks. Will he even be ready by week 1? Brandon Coleman, we got to see. But Dan Quinn even specifically said that Brandon Coleman is a little bit of ahead of Johnny Newton, not by much, but he is as far as recovery goes. So that's more positive news. Now, we want Johnny Newton to come back as soon as possible, but we still have Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. Brandon Coleman, on the other hand, I mean, who's going to start a left tackle for us? I don't really trust Cornelius Lucas. You saw what he did. Just go look at that game last year against the Cowboys, the finale of the season, man. And then you see Trent Scott getting whooped by anybody. The Jets joint practice, anybody whooped them. Anybody they threw at him whooped them. And you saw Chop Robinson got to, I believe it was Jeff Driscoll or Trace McSorley, one of those guys, so quickly when Trent Scott was the left tackle out there. You don't want him starting either. So Brandon Coleman, we need you back more than we need Johnny Newton back. But getting Johnny Newton back will be a huge help because, again, his presence with him being such a great player, he's going to rotate in so much. He's going to play like a starting level amount of minutes and snaps, I believe. That's going to allow Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen to stay fresh, not be fatigued, not be worn out, and be far more efficient on a snap per snap basis. I'm really excited about that. Now, other Dan Quinn updates. He talked about the punter kicker situation, more specifically the kicker situation. He said, quote, "The competition for us at that spot is not settled by any stretch." Obviously it's not, but continuing with the quote, "along with other positions," unquote. So they're still looking at several positions right now to see like who's about to start, who's about to be our main guys going into the regular season. It's not just the kicker position, but the kicker position right now is the biggest question mark we have on this team, because there's no way the kicker that's going to end up attempting kicks for us week 1 of the regular season against Tampa Bay Buccaneers in like 2 weeks, there's no, well, 3 weeks really, there's no way that guy's already on roster. Dan Quinn also said that they're still looking for a kicker, and basically cut down day will open up more options. And just to let you know, just to remind y'all, we are number 2 on the waiver wire. So when teams start cutting their kickers, the only team ahead of us that has a chance to steal one are the Carolina Panthers. That's it. We are before everybody else. So a lot of teams right now have multiple kickers that are good. Like, there are teams out there that have 2 kickers better than any one kicker that we have right now. So when those teams eventually cut the lesser of their 2 kickers, who are still better than who we have right now, Riley Patterson, we will have first dibs on the best of that crop, which is very useful. So us only winning 4 games last season did not only just help us secure Jayden Daniels, because we would not have him if we were the 3rd overall pick. I'm telling you that right now. Don't believe any Patriots fan, reporter, what they tell you. They would have taken Jayden Daniels. I believe that wholeheartedly. So we wouldn't have Jayden Daniels. We probably wouldn't even have Johnny Newton. I mean, it trickles down from the rest of the draft. You're the 2nd overall pick throughout the rest of the draft, each round in general, for the most part. And so, like, a lot of these drafts, maybe we don't have Mike Sanders still, maybe we don't have Johnny Newton, but also right now it's helping us because we are 2nd in waiver wire, and that's a big help, man. So again, we are for sure, in my opinion, signing at least 1 kicker after roster cuts happen next week, after teams cut down to the 53-man rosters from 90, and teams are only going to keep 1 kicker. You have a lot of teams out there with 2. You even have a couple of teams that have 3 right now. There's just no way Riley Patterson is still on this team in 2 weeks. That's all I know. And then shouts out to Jayden Daniels MVP, because he says some kicker names that may intrigue the Commanders. Titans kicker Braden Narvison. He seems to be really good. He made every kick, I believe, in that preseason game that he just had a couple of days ago. Browns kicker Cade York. Rams kicker Tanner Brown. Free agency kicker Mason Crosby is out there. UFL kicker Andre Smith. And free agency kicker Zane Gonzalez, all of which I'm just going to assume are better than Riley Patterson, because I feel like Riley Patterson is almost as bad as it gets. So at least sign somebody from that list. But if I had my pick out of that group, I think Braden Narvison, who I brought up in my previous video, is probably my favorite choice right now. But there's probably other kickers out there that I may not be aware of that may also be good choices. I mean, again, I think by default, you can't get much worse than Riley Patterson, but we still need to shoot for the best choice. Not just better than what we have, but the best option out there, I'm hoping. Also, Dan Quinn talked about the corners. He said that he was impressed by Tariq Castro-Fields, who was one of our highest graded Pro Football Focus players. So it reflected based on what Pro Football Focus saw, what Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. saw. I said that in my post-game video breakdown of the preseason game against the Dolphins the very next morning. I said Tariq Castro-Fields looked like one of the best corners out there. Dan Quinn said the same thing. He also said that he thought Forbes had the best week of practice. I concur. Emmanuel Forbes definitely has had his best week of this offseason. And hey, man, if there were a time to finally figure it out, for something to finally click, right now is the time. He also thought that Benjamin St-Juste had a good week, but he would like to have that 1 touchdown coverage pass back. Remember, that was a backup wide receiver, so there's no excuses there. Benjamin St-Juste, if you're going to start for us, you can't allow that, man. I did a whole breakdown as of what he could have done better in my preseason game breakdown. I talked about that in that video as well. Dan Quinn also said that they're in the middle of determining the best combination of outside corners right now with Benjamin St-Juste, Emmanuel Forbes, and Michael Davis. They do not know who our best 2 are as of right now, but based off of what I'm hearing, it seems like Emmanuel Forbes may be one of those 2. We'll see what Benjamin St-Juste does, Michael Davis, where they fit in. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, what about this new field as well, man? We have a new field. Remember, we had a turf field, and now it's being transformed into a painted grass practice field for the Commanders. Again, this was the field that was closest to the facilities, to the locker rooms and all of that type of stuff. They would have to cross over that sorry field that Dan Snyder left there for 20 plus years just because he was too cheap to pay to get it remodeled and redone like Josh Harris did within just being here for only 1 year compared to the 20-something years Dan Snyder was here. But that was the field they would have to literally cross over to get to the other fields. It was the field closest to the locker room and everything like that. It was just crazy that it literally wasn't usable for the Commanders until just now. They've officially finished it. It looks like it's painted, it has the numbers on it and all of that type of stuff. I love it. Again, this new ownership group has done more in a year than Dan Snyder did the entire 20 plus years he was our owner. That is absolutely insane, man. And there's more on the way too, which is really, really exciting. Also, just to let you know, just to give you an update, the team did a walkthrough earlier today for a practice, nothing major. And then they're off tomorrow. They practice Wednesday and Thursday, just to give you the heads up. And then I'm assuming maybe they're off Friday. We'll see what happens there. And of course, I will be live streaming that game when they actually play against the Patriots. And I believe that's on a Sunday. Yep, that's Sunday, August 25th. So make sure you pull up for that. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content, man. I really appreciate y'all. Of course, let me know in the comment section. I'm gonna try my best. I've been extremely busy again. The only reason this video is coming out so late is because I literally wasn't home all day. I would have been got y'all with this Jayden Daniels name the starting quarterback video. I've just been super duper busy, so I really apologize for that. But I really want to take some time to read and reply to as many comments as possible because I know a lot of the comments are filled with compliments and y'all telling me shouts out to Rico, we appreciate you, and I really want to make sure I try to answer all of those back at some point. If I could just sit down and go through all the videos I've done for like the past month, I really will if I get some time to. So whenever I get some downtime, I'm gonna try to do that. I really appreciate y'all. But of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything in this video. Jayden Daniels being named the starter, the reasoning behind why, not only why he was named the starter, but why they chose to name him the starter when they did. Let me know how you feel about this whole Jayden Daniels controversy and drama with him not sliding. I mean, just completely just outright say in the press conference, yeah, I'm not even practicing it. Like, that's crazy. Let me know how you feel about the injury updates that I gave you with Jordan McGee, Brandon Coleman, and Johnny Newton. Let me know how you feel about the new the new grass field that it took Dan Snyder 20 plus years to fix, never even wanted to, and then Josh Harris got it fixed within just 1 year. Let me know how you feel about all of that, of course. And before you go, remember that this video was sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And please, if anything, make sure y'all gamble responsibly, man. Please do that one. I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.